first attempt at preparing a permanent microscope slide. The subject is a small blue-stained speck of dead skin from a student. It has been taken off of the original slide, which was a little bit too dirty, and I've cleaned with some special lint-free paper, meaning no dust, a new microscope slide. I'll transfer the blue speck onto there, put on a fresh, clean cover glass, and seal it with some nail polish. One challenge to note when dealing with young scientists, especially girls, is that despite your best efforts to get something clean, there will always be a speck of glitter somewhere. I don't know how that speck of glitter found its way there. There's no glitter anywhere else, except on this perfectly clean slide. Because this was my first time, I made quite a few mistakes. First, you can see that there are a few air bubbles. One of them is at the top left, that formed when I put a drop of oil onto it. Now, usually when you put a cover slip on something, you want the sample, in this case the dead skin, to be in a liquid or anything solid. You want it to be in something, and in this case I chose oil instead of water. So we see that there are some air bubbles. There were many more that I had to squeeze out, and the real problem becomes apparent when I turn on some oblique lighting or some dark field lighting. We see that the canola oil has a lot of bubbles that completely obscure the sample when the lighting comes in from any other angle than straight through, like this. So that kind of limits what we can see with the sample. Another mistake that I made was using cotton swabs to put the oil onto the slide. Anybody who uses a microscope knows that cotton swabs leave behind often little pieces of cotton. What I should have done was use something clean, like the edge of my tweezers, something that could put a drop of oil without leaving anything else. So let's take a look at this in a higher magnification. Does it still look good? I think so. My light is on the reddish side of the spectrum, so that's why you're seeing quite a lot of red coming through. The camera is not centered, so that's why you see a bit of a dark halo to the right. But overall, I like what I see at this 10 times objective. Now let's bump it up all the way to 40 times. And what do we see? It looks like all of the interesting edges and features are lost now that I put the sample in the oil. Before, you could see rough cut edges that were in fact dry. That's why they looked so rough cut. Now that I've re-immersed this in oil, well, I guess I moisturized this dead skin, and we no longer see all of the rough little edges. That's unfortunate. So, by trying to preserve this sample, I have made the mistake of losing its most interesting features. I'll have to remember that for next time. And for now, let's find this little air bubble right here. One of my other mistakes. There it is. Good news. I cleaned the oil off the surface of the slide, and it turns out all of those bubbles that we were seeing were just on the surface. So with a little bit of oblique lighting, there we go, we can bring back some of these features. So what we're seeing when I block the light from one side are shadows, essentially, across the sample, making it look a little bit three-dimensional. Now this is a very, very useful and kind of fun trick in order to bring out features of your sample, which is the whole purpose of a microscope, is to play around with tricks that bring out different features of what you're looking at. The purpose of a microscope is not to zoom in as far as you can, that would be very boring, but rather to play around, have some fun, and see what you can see. Now that is fun. Look at that. See, it's the little discoveries like this that make it worthwhile. That is really good looking. So this is being lit from the side a little after I cleaned off the surface of the slide. That is cool. The shadow is moving so much because right now I'm just holding my finger above the light source, just to do any tricks that I can. Looks a little bit like a bird. The eye is on top and the wing, maybe a leg or a wing on the bottom, a beak on the left. That is a bit like a bird.